Well, there's not many challenges in observing, but getting trapped in the pack ice and surviving the rough waters of the Drake Passage, it made travel very dangerous and unpredictable. Well, not much in Iceland is causing global warming, but we can see the impacts of climate change in many ways. The rapid melting of the many glaciers and the hyperactivity of volcanoes are two of the things that I saw personally. And they are related. You wouldn't think they are, fire and ice, right? But they're actually very related. As warming temperatures engulf the island nation, it's melting the glaciers, right? And when the glaciers melt, they get lighter. And when they disappear altogether, there's no weight at all. And that weight has been keeping a cap on the underground magma rivers that flow underneath Iceland. And a lot of these magma rivers feed into the volcanoes. So they were kind of trapped and they weren't moving very much. But now that the weight of these very heavy and old glaciers has been lifted, these magma rivers are flowing more freely and causing more volcanic activity. Basically, they need to identify new ways of manufacturing and distributing their products that do not rely on fossil fuels. So, if you look at distribution, a lot of them are flying their products around the world. They're in big diesel 18-wheeler trucks crossing the nation by road, and all these things are fueled by fossil fuels, right?
Hmm.
So that's just the distribution part. Manufacturing, we look at all the factories that are spewing smoke and greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. There has to be a different way of manufacturing the same product to in the same amount, the same quantity. We don't want to impact on their profit margins. Ah, well, it's not a popular thing to say, but it's the right thing to say. And that is we have to simply ban all fossil fuels and legislate sustainable and renewable alternatives to replace them. The key words here is legislate, right? We actually have to put in law that you have to use a renewable and sustainable source to replace a fossil fuel source. A complete ban on fossil fuels is ultimately necessary, if not today, as soon as possible. We need to make the students and some of the faculty aware of these problems and how we can overcome them. Events like Earth Day is an excellent example where the entire student body can focus on environmental issues for at least one day. And also producing films for the United Nations Youth Climate Report. These are ways that students teach themselves about an issue by doing research for their project. And then by making a communications tool, a short documentary film that is actually presented to the people, to the policymakers at the United Nations, you're making a direct impact and you're feeding data directly to the international environmental policymakers of the United Nations. They use the data that you produce in coming up with new environmental policy for the world. So I think these are a couple of good examples of what we can do throughout Laurier.